All right. Hi, John. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. Today's date is April 27th, 2013, and we're here to discuss gay rights in America. Just before we get this conversation started, I wanted to go over two quick things. The first is that right now this conversation is being recorded, and after the recording is completed, we'll be uploading this video to the internet to our YouTube channel. Is that okay with you?
Super, yes.
Okay, great. And then on top of that, here at Vonvo, we're all about our discussions staying both civil and valuable. We don't want there to be any personal attacks against anyone who joins in. Are you fine with that as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. So then let's get our conversation started. Just for anyone who doesn't know who you are and anyone who watches this video later on, would you mind just giving a quick background of yourself and why you're so passionate about this topic?
Sure. My name is John Steen. I'm executive producer of a documentary doc series that I'm collaborating with right now, titled "The Renegades: What Team Are You On?" It's based on gay men and straight men in sports, and the relationships between gay and straight men on and off the field. And we're also doing about gays in sports as well, because it's been such a timely topic, probably for over a year now. So we're adding our voices to that ongoing conversation about gay men in sports, because there's been an abundance of pro athletes who have come out in support of equality. So we're just adding our voices to that, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm a sports lover, not all sports, of course, but I'm a huge baseball lover, have been my whole life. I was born and raised on the East Coast, so sports is kind of ingrained into you, as opposed to the West Coast. So I started playing softball 16 years ago, gay softball, and it was a life-changing experience and something that I still do today. So I'm pretty passionate about equality in sports. And one of the things that I feel with our project and the gay and sports issue is I think it's a part of equality that really isn't discussed much, particularly the relationships between gay and straight men, that I'm noticing with this generation of young people that is changing. So it's something that I really want to tackle in our project and pretty passionate about.
Right. Right. So what I was going to ask first is like overall, like in terms of just to like ease our way into the conversation, in terms of the overall atmosphere when it comes to gay rights in America. I mean, would you mind just giving a quick sort of like premise on some of the recent things that have happened and where you think sort of the country stands in relation to this issue or to this topic?
Yes, that's good. I think the equality movement and the train is a fast moving train, which I think that we've seen was sped up with California's Prop 8. I think it was 8 years ago now that when California's Prop 8 was struck down. I think that was a big blow to a lot of people. And since then, it seems that our equality movement in regards to gay marriage is speeding up. And it's a really powerful thing, and I feel, to see and to witness on now with so many states and countries around the world allowing and recognizing that gay people deserve the same rights, which are really laws that other people enjoy. So I do feel it's generational. I do remember when Prop 8 was struck down that there was a lot of discussion about that as a generational thing. And so in those past 6-8 years, I've seen a huge shift, which I'm also seeing now. I think that society is seeing now, since there is a broad discussion with gays in sports. So it's pretty exciting. It's a great time. to be alive to witness all that, because I think, I'm in my 40s. It was something that I don't think that I really anticipated might happen in a way, and I think a lot of older gay people probably didn't expect to see that as well. So it's pretty exciting.
Right. So the next thing that I would ask is sort of, can you sort of walk us through, this sort of relationship between, gay rights and sports? I mean, was this something that just sort of popped up? It's funny because we could actually talk about some of those athletes that you were bringing up. I know, one of like the best women's basketball players recently just like came out, and would you mind just sort of telling us? How long ago did this whole sort of this topic of gay rights in the sports industry really begin to take place or start receiving attention, and what's the existing sort of landscape for that matter?
I think that it's always been there, but it's not discussed, because I think there's that issue with gay and straight men, that that macho thing that straight men have, especially perhaps in pro sports, that locker room mentality. So it is, probably there was a lot of joking towards gay people going on, and I'm sure it still goes on today. And so it just, for many years, it didn't seem that it was really discussed. And I think the equality movement and others joining that equality movement, our straight allies, have actually helped bring those issues of gays in sports up. And that's pretty exciting to me, because and it's, again, it just really all seems generational to me. I think that the country and that society is ready for a pro athlete to come out. I think it's time. I understand the fear and the apprehension, but I do think that it's time, and I do think that society can handle it. Gay people aren't going away. We're pretty passionate about our issues and move forward. And being, I don't know if it's quite acceptance. I mean, we can't demand everyone accept us for who we are, but we're pretty united and pretty organized, more than I think that we were within the past 10 years. So, again, it's a fast-moving train.
Right. So you bring up that you're sort of waiting for a gay athlete to come out, and so there's Brittany Griner who came out. She was the Baylor basketball player. Are you saying in regards to a male athlete coming out? I mean, has there not been any male athletes that have come out, or have they not come out while playing? Is that it?
Yeah, they've not come out while playing in pro sports. They've all come out after they've retired. So it would be. I think it would be such a great thing that someone would feel safe enough to come out. In regards to the women with WNBA, I mean, I think that's fantastic, and I think that it's probably a little bit easier for women to come out than gay men. And that's just it's a huge, broad topic, but I think that lesbians have an easier time with the sports thing, because growing up, lesbians, I assume most lesbians excelled at sports, like as opposed to gay men. Some, of course, did. Some, like myself, had a harder time growing up in sports. But I think there are different things between gay men and lesbians when they were growing up in sports, and I don't think that those things actually are that quite different today for people.
So, I mean, obviously, you kind of bring up that. Oh, forgot to mute your camera when I'm speaking. So when it comes to the idea, you say it's a really broad subject, but like let's sort of dig into it. what is the exact reasoning you think of why male athletes will come out after they've already sort of retired or left the sport? And I mean, it'd be interesting to sort of discuss how maybe it sort of deals with the whole main stage that they're on and being in the spotlight sort of thing. So why don't you sort of go into that?
I think probably a lot of the mentality. There's lots of huge stereotypes about gay men in sports, that we're not athletic, that we're effeminate, that we can't excel in the sport of our choice, which is completely untrue. I'm sure there are lots of gay people who are not athletic, and there are lots of gay men who are athletic. Just as the same as straight men, there are some that aren't athletic. I know a lot of straight men who aren't athletic, and some that who are. So I think the main thing is that we have to get past the stereotypes, and especially with this generation, I think that we're going to see a lot more people coming out over the years why they are playing pro sports, and that they're, because young people as a whole accept gay people, or they don't even see gay people. They just see the person, which is what we're striving for, that we can drop those labels. But they're just who they are, and it's gonna today. I think it would someone who's growing up in high school or college, they're more comfortable with their sexuality in regards to people around them, because they're accepted more, and so they're going to excel at their sport and just be out. And so that's what I think and hope is coming in the future, that you'll see that. And because honestly, I do think that gay men and women as well as gay people, that we do try harder in everything that we do. So we really do try to excel, because we want that label dropped, because no matter how much success that we have, that first athlete that comes out is going to be labeled that gay football player, that gay baseball player. So that's just kind of, I think, is what happens with gay people when we excel. We're going to, and if we, we're on that main stage, we're going to be assigned that label, especially if you're the first one, which is unfortunate, but it's still a good thing for it to all happen.
Right. So what exactly do you think needs to sort of change? I mean, is it just going to be sort of a mental thing that personally people will begin to overcome, or do you think something like externally in the environment, throughout the country or the world needs to change? Are there any like specific action items that you can talk about that have at least you've thought about in the past?
I think if more pro sports athletes who are currently playing, or maybe even retired, actually came out with their support of equality and someone being able to come out, I think that would help, because you want to have create a safe environment for someone to do that. So if you're on a pro sports team and you know that there are a few homophobic teammates that you have, you're probably less likely to feel comfortable and safe enough to come out. But if you have people who are pro-gay and who have no problem nor issue with you're gay, then that would create a better atmosphere for someone to come out. And there are lots of current pro athletes who are very pro-gay, and I mean, at the same time, there are a lot of athletes who are still stuck in the old mindset and are homophobic. So it's a delicate balance, I think, but I think it's changing, and I do think it's that whole locker room mentality that a majority of straight men are fearful of a gay male in the locker room for some reason.
Mm-hmm. So So what I was going to say next is what do you think people are misunderstanding about the whole gay rights topic as a whole? How are people misinterpreting what this is all about? Because I want to say that it starts up at the top with gay rights in general, and then this gay rights in sports is just a sub topic of the whole subject. So what are people misunderstanding as a whole about this subject, and how do you think that maybe is then impacting the whole sports industry?
For gay rights, I think that people are just not seeing us as human beings like themselves. I mean, I come from the mindset that we're all one. So if more and more people are coming out, and more people do know gay people. So when you do have a gay relative or a gay coworker, and most of the time people really like that person. Gay men have the stereotype of being really funny and catty, and people find that humorous. So it starts with empathy. So when you're around gay people and you see that they're just like you, that hopefully that is striving the movement forward, and that people are voting, to favor equality and marriage in their state, which our rights should not be up to someone else's vote, but that is changing. Or states are voting down laws where they're putting discrimination into their constitution, even though there's three-quarters, two-thirds of the states still do have that in their constitution. Some are barring that down. So it's all about the personal relationships, and having empathy for someone, and just really seeing that there's really not that much of a difference between people, whether you're gay or straight.
Right. 1 second. Just got to mute you again. So what's your impression of what the next 10 years out look like in terms of gay rights in America, and then gay rights in sports? I mean, would you mind sort of putting your future outlook cap on and tell us what your impression of how this is going to change going forward in either a negative or positive light?
I think there's a huge positive advancement. As I was saying, it's this generation. So as this generation gets a little older, stronger, and wiser, and the next generation steps up, I'm so excited to see this next generation of people. I have a friend, her daughter is 15, and when I met with her this week, she told me she was telling her daughter about the film project I'm doing. Oh, my gay friend John Steen, da da da. And her 15-year-old daughter said, "No, it's not gay. It's just John. No, we don't use that. We don't use that. It's like, but but he is gay." She's like, "So what? He's just a human being." And that really excited me. Even just talking about it now, I get excited to hear that, and it feels really good that people are dropping the labels. It's a little hard for me, of my generation of growing up, to drop that label as well, even though that I want that, but I use it as a reference of discussion. So I'm really excited to see the next generation coming up, because I think that they're actually already aware of the issues. They see what's happening, and their parents, or a lot of parents, might be pro-gay, and they're discussing those issues with them. So I think it's exciting, and I think that, like I was saying before, people are so accepting of the younger generation that I think it's going to be easier goes forward for someone to feel safe enough to put on a pro sports team. I think it really is just a matter of time.
Right. So, who are some of the? Would you mind talking about some of the specific people who have come out both like in support of gay rights in general in the sports world, and then also those who have come out after, after like retiring. Who are some people that some like recognizable people? I mean, I mentioned the whole Brittany Griner thing, but that's on the women's end. But she's obviously a pretty big figure, so I guess that's going to really help. But would you mind talking about some of the people on the men's side that have come out?
There's quite a few. There's the former Baltimore Raven, Brendan Abenyengo. I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, I'm sure. He has been a huge supporter of the equality movement. He's out there all the time speaking. He was at the Supreme Court outside on the steps speaking when we had our marriage case last month. So he's constantly talking about the equality movement, and he's great on Twitter. I see that he gets into lots of discussions with people, because he gets bashed a lot for speaking for the advancement of equality. And then there's also the Minnesota Viking kicker punter Chris Kluwe is also huge supporter of the equality movement, and he speaks out a lot. He's written fantastic articles and gotten into great discussions with politicians about it. In his articles. So that's exciting. The two of them, and I believe the one that the few that I recall who have come out after. One is a San Francisco former 49er. His name was just on the tip of my tongue. I forget his name. He was a football player, and also I remember Billy Bean was a former baseball player with the San Diego Padres. He came out after he stopped playing, and that was probably 10, 15 years ago that he stopped playing. So, and I'm not really sure what his situation is now. I don't hear much from or about him. So,
I think he's the.
So I'm not sure if he's that.
I think he's the general manager for the Oakland A's, if I'm not mistaken.
That's two different people.
Oh, two different people. Okay.
They both have the same name, but it's two different people.
All right. You don't find that name too often.
Being a ball player, the last time I heard that he was living in Florida and maybe owned restaurants or something.
Right. Hold on 1 second. Let me mute the camera. So, what's your sort of reaction to, those people who, criticize, gay rights, and they take the whole religious standpoint, and are just frustrated with this whole movement because of that? I mean, what's your reaction to those people? Do you respect, or do you respect their position when it comes to having those opinions and that stance on the issue? And would you mind sort of just telling us your feelings with regards to that, and like what other people? I mean, basically, there's the whole religious defense that people that are against gay rights will have, but what other defense logic will people come up with for being against gay rights? Would you mind going into that?
Yeah, the religious thing, I think that's a big topic and a big defense for a lot of people. I myself, and I don't believe in organized religion. I believe in God, but I don't believe in Jesus as God. I have different aspects of God, and for me, anything organized religion is exclusive, and anything that is exclusive to me is not of God, because God is not exclusive. To me, God is inclusive. So I think that the argument for the right-wing religious people is kind of falls away with that, with my argument anyway, that it's exclusive. Why would God deny anybody? And so the religious people, extremists, are denying. So it's very hypocritical. So I think a lot of people aren't believing in that argument anymore, and a lot of people are moving away from organized religion. Um, my biggest thing with that is the people who quietly sit in church pews are just as dangerous as the message from the priest coming, especially if he's bashing gay people, because we as people have so much power. And for instance, if all the people organized, let's say, because I was born and raised Catholic, and there's that huge message from the Catholics that not for equality or gay marriage, that if people in the church organized and they wrote letters to the papers, or stop going to church, stop putting money, especially if they stop putting money in the bin because they don't like the message of the gay marriage equality movement moving forward, then I think the church would change its views. And I don't think that people feel that they can do that, or maybe are safe enough to do that, or they're just not doing it for some reason. They may not believe what that priest is saying, or the church as a whole, but they're not refuting it and joining the movement either. So that's just my opinion on that. That the people who quietly sit in church pews actually have a lot of power. I forget what you were asking about that.
Well, no, that's fine. So I was just going to say, so you think that ultimately there's, it's a money driver thing that is continuing that stance?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if people know anything about it, I would just use the Catholic Church, but I'm sure most churches do that. It all starts with the money. I think everything in life, in a way, starts with the money. Follow the money, and you'll get your answers. But for the church, specifically the Catholic Church, it is all about the money and the history of that. I honestly believe that people stop going or stop putting money in there until they change their ways and their message, that would happen quite quickly.
All right, great. Oh, 1 second. So do you think that, if and when, like, more pro athletes and male athletes were to come out while, being in the league, let's say, do you think that, what do you think the reaction is going to be from the media and from, fans? I mean, what do you anticipate, the fallout being? Is it going to be more of a negative one or a positive one? Do you think, like, it'll result in, like an owner, let's say, trading away a player because he doesn't want to deal with the commotion, sort of thing? What do you think would happen?
I think that it's probably going to be sport specific, perhaps, and maybe organization specific. So let's say it might be easier for someone, let's say, in one of the big major cities to come out where gay rights isn't that big of an issue, as opposed to, let's say, a city in the South, a team from Texas, let's say, use an example. I think it would be harder. So my feeling is that it would be one of the big city teams that someone would come out on. And I think that they would know their organization's stance before they did that. But I do think that it would be a big deal. Just the way our media today is, that they would make it a headline story for quite a while. And I do think, unfortunately, that person has a lot of scrutiny on them, and because it's going to be based on their performance, I think, and I think that gay person, that gay athlete, is going to try their hardest and work their hardest at their sport if they came out like they always do anyway. We do as gay people, but I think there would be fan support. and in most cities, maybe in those other cities, if you're going to, let's just, say Texas or one of those other southern cities, that you won't get as warm a reception. I'm hoping that that person wouldn't be booed, but you have to be prepared for that.
Right. So what do you think? You bring up, the media would have this, crazy reaction towards it. Do you think that would ultimately hurt or harm the situation? Having a huge media uproar about it.
That's dependent upon the media. I think that the media in this case would be probably a little helpful with it in a way. And I would hope that they would sort of treat it delicately, but we don't want to be handled delicately either. I mean, we're not delicate people. But I think that if that pro athlete was on a championship team and their team won the big championship at the end of the year, people would be more accepting, because everyone loves a winner. I don't think people are going to see your sexuality. Let's say if your team wins the World Series and you were part of that, I think that would actually help, of course, but it's going to be a very interesting thing. And the exciting thing is that I know that Nike has offered an endorsement deal to any pro athlete that comes out. So there you're going to be getting exposure as well. So it's going to be a delicate balance, I think.
Right. So I guess the last thing I was going to ask you about would be, like, what message would you like to send to the world, and for anyone that watches this discussion, for them to know about gay rights in America, gay rights in sports? I mean, what message would you want to leave with people with regards to this subject?
My message is that, and it goes towards younger people, because we want to create a safe space for young people, especially if you're questioning your sexuality, that you're in a safe environment, that you feel safe enough to come out to your friends in school, and especially if you're playing sports, that we create that safe environment, and we drop and don't put the stereotypes, especially towards gay men in sports, that we're effeminate, that we're not good enough as straight men to play sports, that you are good enough, that you are good enough who you are, whether you're gay or straight, whether you're athletic or non-athletic, that you are here, and that there are people here to support you, that there are people here to talk to you, there are people here who do love you, that you can do this, you can be who you are, and you can excel at whatever profession that you're in, despite your sexuality, because we're hopefully we're getting to that place where we can drop that label that you're the first gay pro athlete to come out, you're that gay actor, that lesbian teacher, or we got to drop those labels, and hopefully with this new generation of people that are coming up, that I think they're about that, and we just got to treat each other with more empathy.
Right.
Practice radical empathy.
Great. So, John, just because in a few minutes I'm going to have to move into a different discussion that's taking place, I wanted to, thank you for your time in talking about these topics. And, we're more than happy to have you back on the site regarding this topic or any others, going into the future. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll definitely look forward to having you back again soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Max. It was great. I really look forward to it.
You got it. No problem. All right. Have a good day.